Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
Cheerio.
Emily Blake.
Hi!
And Samantha Garrison.
Hello.
I went full Ninja Warrior on your name. Did you appreciate
I
it?
did.
Yeah.
I love that Ninja Warrior pronunciation.
Oh my god. American Ninja Warrior.
Or
Is it
the Asian one where they're like, Levi
Oh,
Muenberg!
that one's
That's
pretty
my
good,
favorite.
too.
I love Levi Muenberg.
Oh my god. Just the way they scream. My favorite thing about Ninja Warrior is just the way they get tired of saying it halfway through the last word. Warrior!
I think that is how I converse with people in general.
It's so
It's
good.
just like, hey, did you hear about that one movie? Oh, whatever.
Hey, that's going to be my where have you been doing this week. Special guest this week. Very special guest. Happy to have him back. Hasn't been on in like years. Nick Friedemann.
That's me.
Yeah.
Hey.
Nice.
For those of you keen-eyed observers from way back in the day, Nick used to be the keen-eared,
Yeah.
the co-host of this show.
That's true.
Yeah, we started it together way back in the day.
Sitting on the floor of my apartment at the time, and then
The
eventually
first one,
your
yeah.
apartment.
Yeah, when it was B&N test, we were on the floor of your apartment.
Yes.
That was a
Talking about Dead Space.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good title.
Yeah.
What?
It was B&N test.
That was the original title.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is trash.
Yeah,
It was
that's
bad.
why we switched it.
Yeah.
I don't even think we released the first episode under that title. I think
No,
we
no,
came
no,
up
no,
after
no.
the hype before.
Yes, we did.
I feel like the title came about after a few episodes.
I want to say 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we recorded a few first, and
Yeah.
then we switched it.
Yeah.
It's like when you start a podcast, no one listens to your first episode.
No.
No.
Unless
No.
you're jumping off
No,
of a
you're-
different podcast.
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna
say,
say.
for example,
I was-
this podcast called Samwise.
Well, that's why we're hiding it
Hey.
in the feed.
Yeah.
we're making sure people listen to our new first episodes.
Whether you want it or not, it's
Yeah.
coming to you.
It's going to auto-download
Like
to your
that
phone,
U2
motherfucker. Let's do a Where Have You Been Doing? Exciting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go first. I saw Hot Garbage the movie, a.k.a. Venom.
I also saw Venom.
Was it like a turd in the wind?
Oh my god, it was. It was...
in the wind.
The thing is, like, there's good things in it, like here and there, and that's about it. And like, it's just a complete mess. And I want to kind of reserve how much I'm saying because Chewie has worked for the director many times on Superstore, so she knows him, and apparently he's not that bad of a guy, and like that's great. But this was a rough movie, and it has a really good credit tag. At least there's that. Kind of makes me mildly excited for another one, but not really.
Yeah, I kept saying why the whole movie in my head. I just kept being like, why,
Yeah.
why?
It just kind of annoys you, and it's like, I had hoped for something remotely entertaining, and it was that. So I guess I shouldn't be too upset. But oof.
I will say
not a great
one
movie.
amazing thing about the movie is that I forget his name right now. The actor who plays Dan on Veep is
Oh,
in this
yeah.
is in this movie, and his character's name is Dan. So
I enjoyed that as well.
I am pretty convinced it's the same person. And then
Nice.
he used to be a doctor, and then the experience with Barack fucked him up so much that he was like, I'm done with this. Fuck this. I need to become a political activist, and like joins politics and becomes a dick. And so they're the same person.
That makes the movie a few percentage better to watch, but just a few.
If you imagine that was Dan before
Yeah.
he was jaded. He used to be a nice guy.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm just like, that's all I can really say about the movie. It's like,
Yeah.
nah. At least Dan from Veep was in it. That's it for me though. I'm starting us out on a real downer.
What a bummer.
I've got an upper.
Okay.
I saw Bad Times at the El Royale.
So good.
Which I'm assuming Chewie is also going to talk about.
That'll be next week though.
Okay, next week Chewie will talk about it, guys. But it was great. I loved it because it was slow moving. It's a very long movie, but it felt like every part of it was very necessary. And I felt like it could have been even longer if they had given me more shots of Chris Hemsworth's abs. Like, I would join that cult so hard, you guys. I don't care. I would murder. I get it. I loved it.
I thought it was great. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I really liked it. There was some stuff I didn't like, but overall I liked it.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Emily, what about you?
I went to the Gina Davis Institute, did a screening of a movie that I think is on the Disney Now app now. It's called Secret Warriors: Marvel Rising, and it's an animated movie about some of the younger Marvel characters, and it's fucking great. It's primarily focused on Squirrel Girl and Ms. Marvel, which is an amazing combination. Watching them hang out together and be besties. It's very much a best girlfriends movie, but they have superheroes. And then oh, it's so good. It was just I don't really know that much about Squirrel Girl, but by the time the movie was over, I was thinking I could cosplay that. And then the person I went to see the movie was like, yes, you have to. Now you can't not. And I was like, fuck. Now I guess I got to read Squirrel Girl.
Hasn't she defeated in the comics? Hasn't she defeated Thanos?
Yes.
Yeah, she's defeated a lot of people. It's kind of like the thing of the character is that people underestimate her.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I mean, that was great when people are just like, you have the powers of a squirrel? Is that what you do?
Squirrel.
But it's and then Miss America's in it, and America Chavez is in it rather. Is that the same character? That's not the same character. No, I don't know. And who else? Yeah, there's just it's got a lot of people of color and a lot of women, and they're played by appropriate actors. And it's Ms. Captain Marvel makes an appearance. It's just really, really enjoyable and fun and pretty cool. And that was they had a Q&A, and the mission statement that the producers were saying in the beginning is they were like, we wanted to make a movie that girls and people of color could see themselves in as Marvel characters, and so that's what we did. It was great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
John, what about you?
So I was going through Netflix to watch a bunch of horror things, as I usually do, and Netflix was pushing their shows pretty hard, and one of them was The Haunting of Hill House. I was like, oh, guess I'll check that out.
Tell me when you're done.
Yeah, I won't spoil anything, but I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to, but it's a family drama couched with horror elements, but it's about trauma. And I don't know, it just worked so well in that regard for me. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it because there's so many things that just spoil the experience. So I'd say go in just blank. Don't pay any attention. Don't read anything about it or look at anything up, and just go in fresh. And I think you'll really enjoy it.
That's why I hid.
Yeah, no, it's as I was like, I'm going to use this for my where have we been doing and say nothing about it
Perfect.
because I don't want to spoil it, but I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Last but not least.
Me. Honestly, I haven't been doing much, if I'm being completely honest. I've been playing a Pokémon Rom hack, which is pretty fun. That's about it. And I've been watching a shitload of Survivor, and I love Survivor. So if you're into Survivor or even remotely kind of interested, yes, Brian, it's better than the Great British Bake Off.
No, it's not. But
Yes, it is. Having watched all of the Great British Bake Off and a vast majority of Survivor, it is.
No way.
Yep.
No.
It's telling that you haven't watched all of Survivor and you've watched all of Great British Bake Off.
Yep.
Oh, really? Because one is 5 seasons and the other one is 34. I feel like there's a bit of a time
Nut
difference.
up, Nick.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
on that shit.
I am. I'm going
actually
through it
loved
right
it.
now. I just watched season One World. Not that great. Not a good season. But this most
He's
recent
been nutting.
season's
He's
really
been nutting.
good.
It's
Exactly.
I've been watching the Great British Baking Show while I'm working on costumes for Halloween, and it's very soothing.
It's a very soothing, very comforting show.
Yeah.
Mary
I don't
Berry,
know what they're doing.
not
It's
great.
science. There's a lot of science happening, and
Oh, for
as
sure.
I'm heating up Warbler and shaping it, I'm like, I'm kind of doing the same thing you guys are doing.
except you can't eat it.
You can't eat it, which is
Yeah.
I'm sure you
you
could.
can.
You can eat
Probably
anything.
not a good
if
idea
you
to
put
eat a
your mind
Do
to
not,
it.
Yeah.
no, come on, PSA for our audience.
You just got to
Do
believe.
not eat a thermoplastic, please.
Unless you want to.
Yeah.
No.
If David Blaine has taught us anything, you can eat anything you want. He loves to eat glass and metal. He went to the dentist in one special, and they were like, please stop doing this. And he was like, okay.
I love the idea of a dentist. She's like, just please stop.
It's in the special. The dentist is like, he's like, you've really ruined your teeth. And he's like, oh, okay, fair enough.
I mean, he's a millionaire. He's getting new teeth. He'll be
I was
fine.
going to say, just get those veneers. That's
Yeah.
the goal anyway.
Yeah. Or
I
just
want,
magic inseminator
I
teeth.
want big old
Yeah,
Seth
exactly.
Meyer chiclets one day. That's my goal.
Oh, boy.
Meyer chiclets. There's a product for you right there. I think we should get started. This is our final episode of our Halloween month of October. We have covered some pretty good horror movies. I don't think we did any bad ones this time, right? They're all
No,
good.
no.
We did Quiet Place, we did Hereditary, and we did the other one.
Tragedy Girls.
Tragedy Girls.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
they're
didn't do
all
anything.
enjoyable.
Yeah, usually we throw one stinker in there, and we have a couple on today, I think. But as a full episode, we have not done any truly horrible films. But so today we're doing our Secret Santa, or as Ryan was determined to get me to say, even though I did not want to, Secret Pumpkin. I do not like that name.
Part of the cabal of gingers to make orange a thing.
Yeah, and I mean,
Stop.
it's in my blood. I do have a ginger beard, but I agree with you.
Wait, what's wrong with orange?
Nothing rhymes with it.
Door hinge?
Eminem would
Yeah.
deeply disagree with
Eminem
you.
gets real mad about that.
Yeah.
And his like examples weren't that great.
No, but he's still like, he set out a goal for himself and he accomplished it, Brian.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so today's Secret Pumpkin episode, Orke, aka our Secret Santa episode.
Brian also said earlier, and I didn't say anything,
Yeah,
but
I
he said
know.
AKM instead of AKA.
Like, instead of Secret Santa, it shouldn't be Secret Pumpkin. It should be Secret, like, Jack from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Also kind of a Christmas movie, so we're
Yeah.
back to Secret Santa.
But that would make more sense.
Secret
because-
Pumpkin King.
oh, that would have
There
worked.
you go.
That would have worked.
There you go.
Oh, well, it's already sold. And it's already been titled, and I've already released the episode, because that's how it all works.
What?
And the SEO's been
You released
written.
the episode we haven't done yet?
This
Yeah.
is live.
What's that? Did you guys watch The Good Place this week? That's that time.
No.
Okay,
No,
that
don't tell
time.
me.
Don't, yeah.
time thing.
So let's get started. So basically, if you've never listened to one of these episodes before, as a way to kind of celebrate horror or to condemn your poor viewer, we all got assigned one person around the table, and we got to pick a movie for them, and then somebody picked a movie for us, and we're going to review them and try to guess who gave us the movie, and it usually turns out pretty fun. Sometimes you get better movies, sometimes you get worse movies. I still think historically I had the worst movie to watch out of anyone, and go back to our very first episode to hear about that one. I don't even remember the fucking name of it. Arcade?
Yeah.
Existence?
No. No. But let's go around the table. Let's see what movies we have. I can go first. I had the 1950s Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I had Dead Alive, also known as Brain Dead, depending on which country you're listening to this. And
We're not recording it twice each time so we can say the right name. I'm just not doing
I
that.
know.
We should.
I had Drag Me to Hell.
And I had Wish Upon.
And I had Doom.
Doom.
You really seem to like that movie the way you said
Hold on,
the title.
sorry. I'll make it more upbeat. I had Doom.
That fits the tone of your movie. Who wants to go first? Do we have anybody who really is just dying to talk about their movie?
Nick is obviously dying to talk about
I agree. Nick clearly wants to go first.
Yeah, I'll go first.
Here, I'm just going to set a timer just so we don't go way out of control. But if you don't need this whole time, don't worry about
Do I need to set up the plot of
it.
Doom?
Yeah, let's all do that. Let's just give ourselves a little breakdown.
Okay.
I want to see how Nick does his, essentially.
Okay. The breakdown of Doom is a bunch of Marines jump through water, as far as I can tell.
They are
And
Marines.
yes, and they get sent to Mars, where nobody seems to be. They don't know the arc is what they're going through. It's how it like teleports them to Mars. They don't know where it came from, but they don't seem that concerned about it. And then through a long meandering thing where they wander through what look like office corridors, but designed as like, Martian sort of space tunnels, with a lot of red and a lot of blue. Instead of evacuating people out immediately, they wait until shit goes real bad, and then they're like, get everybody out now. And then eventually a bunch of stuff happens with a bunch of, I think, aliens, but they're not based off of what I know about the game. But they're not really aliens. They're kind of like another race.
I mean,
but
out of the
not,
game, they're demons.
They're demons.
Yeah.
But they're not demons really in the movie. But it's kind of hard to tell because in the movie, mostly it's like space zombies. So,
Wait, the movie was based off the game?
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you
I
couldn't tell.
have gotten that.
You could tell when you got to the first-person
Yeah.
shooter part.
But that's like any action movie. Like, at this
Wait,
point,
did you
they've all
guys watch
been
all
so-
the movies? I only watched my movie.
No, I've just seen
Yeah, I
Doom,
only
and
watched-
I'm
yeah.
just having this.
I always
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
all the movies just
Okay.
because.
Well, you're Brian.
No, yeah, it's
on
it's
brand.
based off of the game, but like a really weird adaptation of it. Like it would be like, honestly, what's really like is it's a lot like the Mario Brothers movie, in the
Okay.
sense where you're like, oh wow, this is real loose. This is real loose. And really long. And the movie's like almost 2 hours.
Whenever I'm subbing in for Chewie, I feel obligated to be like, but it's a great movie.
I don't
It's
know
not.
if no, it is.
Sorry, Chewie.
The Rock is in it.
Oh no, she was talking about Super Mario Brothers.
Oh,
she
okay.
loves Super Mario Brothers.
So in this case, you
Okay.
just gave it a good review by calling it Super Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
That
so
means
it's
Doom's a
on
great
it's on
movie.
par. Take that however you want. It's really long, and The Rock is in it, but like they were like, you know what? The best part of The Rock is his charisma. So let's just take all of that out. Let's just strip it all away. Let's just make him as bland as possible, which is like not really interesting. And then you
also,
have
how? How do you even do that?
so
Well, it's
his
early
is-
Rock, right? So he can.
It's early Rock.
Yeah.
His establishing shot is just Semper Fi across his back, and just him like staring at a screen like over Skype, basically. And then like he delivers all of his stuff, but he doesn't deliver it like in a normal sort of like semi-sarcastic way, which is kind of how his charisma shows up, where it's like very 90s action movie, but in a modern sort of sense, right? With a lot of like wrestling, over the top kind of like pomp. All of that's gone. It's like somebody was like, here's the script for today. Just do a dry read, and then we'll do a few takes after it. And they took the dry read takes every time. And that's the whole movie. And same thing with like almost every character. And it's weird. But then they also have like a early 2000s trope of like a really disgusting human being as part of the thing. But they're like, I guess we'll tolerate this because he's really gross, but he's really good at his job, but he's not good at his job. So it makes no sense. They just have a disgusting like war crime-esque human being who is like making jokes about like just like molesting people, and they're like, oh,
Molesting
you
young boys.
yes, that's his intro. And then they're like, oh, you pish posh, and then they're like, that's it. It's terrible.
How is it a horror movie?
It's not really a horror movie because the whole thing is shot like it was like, we want to make it look like it's a part of the Sci-Fi Channel, but we're not sure how to do it, so let's just try.
Wait.
Yes.
The Sci-Fi Channel you think was their goal?
Yes.
and not just like it's the
Yeah.
the SYFY.
Yes. It was shot like you know how in most action movies there's like a sense of grandeur, right? Like there's like a sense of scale to it. They were like, let's scale it way down, and then we'll make it as small as possible. Like the director / cinematographer, because I think he did both, but he was a cinematographer beforehand, cinematographer for Speed. So
No, you shouldn't be directing a feature, especially not
No.
like a studio. What are you doing?
I know. And every shot is like an extreme close-up. For an action movie, very strange. So it was weird. It was a weird movie. It had some interesting moments, I guess, but
You'd seen it before this, right?
yes, I had.
Yeah, okay.
And I had forgotten most of it. And then it came back like
so
a...
lucky to see it twice.
Yes, I know. Oh,
That's the end of that part.
that's fair.
I will say, because of this episode, Doom is now one time less of being tied for the movie we've talked about the most on this podcast.
Oh.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
Jaws and then Doom.
Really?
Doom
Why?
just keeps coming up. I don't know.
Like a bad taco?
The thing is, I never initiate it. It's always when I allow somebody else to pick, Doom somehow comes to the
Why?
table. I don't know. I've seen this movie too many fucking times.
Gross.
Any guesses as to who gave it to you?
I want to say you, based off of like the fact that you said nobody's brought it up and you've watched it too many times. And judging off of our relationship, you probably saw it and you were like, Nick would probably not like this. This would be funny. I would say probably you, but I'm going to go with Sam.
It was not me.
Damn.
Or me.
Damn. Was it John?
John?
John, third choice.
And here was my reasoning. At first I wanted to do something like, what's a really good horror film that I could make Nick watch? And I was like, I couldn't decide on one. I was like, wait, he works in games. He's done video games. Let me do a video game, Doom.
That's fair. That's a good choice. It was interesting, but it was definitely not. It's not a good movie.
No. And I think for me, what makes it so fun to come back to and rewatch is all those things that you said that were bad about it.
Yeah.
It's so gloriously bad.
Yeah.
Like it it kind of runs full tilt into the bad in the way that the one character runs into the glass wall and like beats his head against it.
Yes, exactly.
It's aggressively
Oh.
awful.
Yeah.
And every choice is wrong, but
Yes.
you can't help but look at it happening.
No, for sure. Because, like, they do these weird things where they... this will be the last thing I say, but they do
No,
these weird...
we have 5 minutes to talk about this after
Oh.
we've revealed who it is.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have
Oh, okay,
5
perfect.
minutes.
They do these weird things where they, like, the guy who runs into the glass wall, they're like, they introduce him in one way, and then randomly, it was like the director was like, you know what? We need to give him something more. Let's make him really religious for some reason. But they don't bring it up beforehand. And by really religious, I mean he says God damn it at one point. And then he cuts a cross into his arm and he's like, I said his name in vain. And you're like, wait, what? This is...
But they didn't film it to where it looks like a cross on the frame. It looks like an X.
Yes.
And then he's like cutting himself like, oh.
Because if you're directing and also the cinematographer,
Yes.
you don't have the ability to like really look at your shot properly.
No.
And like you've got Rosamund Pike in this too. Before
Yes.
she's done like all these great movies and kind of proven her chops, but like her in this, like she's playing a serious version of this movie, and it's so at odds with everybody else in this movie.
Yeah. Everybody is playing it seriously, but like everybody has a different version of what that means. And Savannah and I watched this last night, and she was like, when it gets introduced who she is, her and Carl Urban have some sort of connection. They
Wait,
know each other.
I need to hold
Yes.
on. Carl Urban, The Rock, and Rosario Dawson are all in this.
No,
movie?
not Rosario Dawson.
Rosamund Pike.
Rosamund Pike.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, that's slightly better.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
It's a hell of a cast, right?
Like,
It's a good cast.
Look at the cast in this, and then watch this movie and wonder like, where did this go wrong?
Yeah, the direction.
Because
The
you can't
direction's
just pick
really
one
bad.
thing. You can't pick one
Well,
thing.
I was
that
just
was
really
wrong.
for a minute.
Yeah.
I just like heard Rose, and I went
Yeah.
Rosario Dawson and The Rock were in a movie together. I need to see that, and then I lost the rest of it.
It's honestly worth watching just to be like, why? Like, but they clearly they didn't have a big budget.
No.
They spent their budget in a really terrible way, which is also probably the case.
Well, they did do practical effects for a lot of the zombies, which would have added money to their budget, and it is the one good thing I'll give this movie. I
But
like
the
practical.
zombies weren't
Yeah.
supposed to be zombies.
Yeah, they did. They did
No,
some good like
Or were they?
special effects work, like real, but the camera doesn't like want
Yeah.
to
Yeah, the
look
camera
at it.
doesn't let you look at it. But no, like there are zombies, both in Doom and the game and the movie, there are zombies and there's big mutant things. And the big mutant
Okay.
things in the movie are practical effects, which is really cool.
That's dope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one really
And
cool thing in the movie.
I hadn't
Yep.
before this movie. I hadn't really kind of seen Carl Urban in a lot. Maybe other than was Lord of the Rings was before this, right?
Yes.
Was it?
I'm drawing a blank.
Lord
on
of the
it.
Rings is like 2001.
Carl Urban was
Oh,
in
yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the second
He was
one,
in the
so
second
it would
one.
have been 2002.
Yeah, I think this came out 2004,
Okay.
5.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So-
So,
so-
I'm
yeah.
I
learning
mean-
so much today. Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point being, as I wasn't very versed in him, so like when they did that switcheroo in there, when they made him the hero,
Yeah.
and like made him Doom guy, and like I was like, oh, that was interesting, and then it was followed by this very unexpected, like let's be like the video game for like a nice chunk of time and make a first-person shooter scene. And I remember being like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then immediately after I was like, this is still not a very good movie.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating that they went that way, and it they tried to make this a much better movie than it was. Like these choices
sure.
are so discordant with each other.
Well, right. And they do a bunch of weird stuff where they try to introduce like a bunch of weird technology, which is like a callback to the game. The red and the blue is actually a callback to the game because it was a way for them to differentiate like different areas of the levels because they didn't have a lot of textures to work with. So you have like red key and blue keys. You have
Yeah.
red lights and blue lights. The problem is that they took all of that shit like way too literally and they didn't do like a good job of adapting it for the screen, which is like usually a big problem with a lot of adaptations.
Well, try
in
to
general.
explain to someone
Adaptations?
like
Adaptations.
like you did about the Ark and where that goes and how hell factors in and how
Yeah.
that's on Mars, but there's also Earth,
Yeah.
and they go down an elevator into the like.
Wait.
Just try to explain that on a 30-second
we
breakdown.
got hell and zombies
Yes.
On Mars.
and Mars.
And
on
Mars.
and Marines
And demons from hell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they don't
Yeah,
really
yeah,
ever, the one thing the movie doesn't do, which it should, because everything with Doom in the title does, is you should go to hell. Like
Yeah.
every single Doom game, you go to hell for an entire level, and it's horrible. And
Now, correct
But
me.
pain in
hell's
the ass.
hell's not in the movie though.
nope.
No, hell's not in the movie. They find this these people who are like genetically engineered who lived on Mars and then realize that like I don't know shit goes down and the genetic is like an extra chromosome and they inject it into you and then some people turn into demon-ish sort of things and some people turn into like superhumans. And it's just based off of your predisposition to violence. That's the whole premise of the movie.
So it's kind of like in Humans when you get that mist. and then it decides whether you're going to be
Exactly.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the first Inhumans movie.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
sounds
Exactly.
like it.
Just as good as the other one.
Oh no.
Shout out to the Trent Reznor score at the very end.
I mean, that wasn't that was just Nine Inch Nails.
Or Nine Inch Nails,
They
yeah.
just lifted the song
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of their album.
But like
it's just
that song caps off perfectly what this movie is.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah,
oh,
the
why
music
not
is so
end
bad
with
in this
why
movie,
not
though.
end with Nin? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do this the same way we did last time, which is whoever's movie was picked goes next. So that makes John next.
Oh, okay, cool. Are we going?
Just start.
Okay,
It
yeah.
doesn't matter.
So my movie was Wish Upon, and it is a movie I'd seen a while back, and I think during our Hostels episode, I had to double check. I mentioned having seen it in the Where Have You Been Doing? Watching it again, it was let me break it down first. This high school student, she, in the past, she witnesses her mother hang herself in their attic, and so like after that, like we follow through that scene, and the mother hangs herself, and she sees it happen and screams, and then she wakes up in the present day or whatever. And there's a montage of her going to school, passing by her dad, Ryan Felipe, a very still young-looking Ryan Felipe,
Oh.
and I mean,
He looks older. It's
he looks
okay.
older. He looks older, but he doesn't look like he could have been her dad.
Which
Yeah.
is weird because he has kids her age.
Yeah,
Like in
Well,
real
he's
life.
eternally young looking.
Yeah.
So
He's forever babyface.
right, forever babyface. But anyways, he finds this. He's a scavenger, and so like he'll scavenge stuff in the garbage outside of her school and embarrass her. Like, Dad, no, come on. He's like, what? And they're not like. That's exactly how the scene
Not
goes.
as good as the movie.
Yeah. And so he finds
What?
this Chinese wishing box. I think they called it a wishing pot or something like that. I don't remember what the person referred to it as, one of the characters who ends up dying anyways. But she gets this wishing box, and it was like, oh, you get 7 wishes. And so she starts making these wishes, and people around her start dying. And that's kind of the gist of it. And at the end of the movie, she makes her last wish to revert everything back, thinking like, aha, I beat you. Except no, it didn't actually work that way, and she actually gets killed.
Hit
Like,
by 2 cars.
2 cars.
Twice.
Twice.
Hit by 2 cars.
Twice. So one, she kind of.
One
I would refer to
car
it as
she kind of hit.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, but still 2 cars. She made contact with 2 cars
Oh,
going
yeah.
2 different directions.
The industry term is ping ponging
Yes.
from one car.
Yeah.
The industry term.
Yeah. The one car hits her. She flies over like feet up, and then hits the other car, and just ends.
What industry are we talking about here?
The car crash industry. Duh.
Yeah, the
car
insurance fraud industry.
Yep. Exactly. And I.
A feat Dominic Toretto survived, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
That's
Well,
because Dom Toretto is the only real superhero.
I mean, he also
we
pulled a piece of
need.
metal out of a car and fought Jason Statham on a roof,
oh, it's such
garage roof, as it collapsed. So,
justice for Han.
Yeah.
Throwing that out there.
but anyways, yeah. This.
God, I love those movies.
so good.
So about Fast
Now
and
I need
Furious
to go
series
back
as a
and-
whole.
Yeah, wait. Yeah, let's pivot.
Yeah, let's pivot. Yeah, there isn't really a lot to this movie. I did find it a little bit more like kind of humorous and endearing this time around, just because I'd already seen it before and knew what to expect. It's a kind of a middle line movie. It's well shot. It's acted the way you would expect a movie about high schoolers to be, and the deaths are telegraphed from a few years away. So you can and
Yeah, it's like Final Destination, but easier. Like,
which wasn't Ryan Felipe in? No, he wasn't.
nah.
No.
That was
The other guy, Devon Sawa, was.
Devon
which I
Sawa.
confused those guys up.
Really?
But
Brian. Okay, whatever.
Well,
I have strong feelings
they-
about Ryan Felipe, but go ahead.
Not Devon Sawa? Everyone's
I
favorite.
love the Final Destination movies. Also, you guys are
The
just
first,
sitting.
I've been thinking about them a lot after sitting on freeways. I've been thinking about the opening moment of Final
my
Destination
God,
2 a
yeah.
lot.
I
haven't-
watch
yeah.
them every October. I rewatch the whole series. It's my favorite horror franchise. I don't care. Like, I love
The
them.
lengths I will go to get something out of the garbage disposal without having to put my hand down it because of
Yes.
those movies. Because I'm just sort of like, no, I'm gonna get my hand
Yeah,
chopped off.
for sure.
It's gonna happen.
garbage disposals are like the #1 killer.
They kill someone in your movie. Do you remember when we were talking about Wish Upon?
Yeah. That movie. That we could get no, but it does illustrate that there is really not much to this movie other than that. I would say
Yeah.
it's quaint.
Someone
I mean,
gets hit by 2 cars is what
That's,
I got.
I mean, that really, this might be my favorite movie on the table today just because of that. I watched that scene, I want to say 10 times, and when Chewie got home, like, you have to fucking see this.
It's so fucking funny.
yeah.
Did they? Okay.
Is it supposed to be funny?
No, it's supposed to
Okay.
be the horrific ending, and it's just like, What just happened?
Who watches that and doesn't think it's funny though? Like movie car crashes in general are like always hilarious. It's like puking in movies. It's always funny.
It always works.
And then
Like
just to
Meet
see
Joe
where they
Black
go.
when he gets hit by the car. Like this is some serious
Oh, yeah,
drama that they
yeah.
spent way too much money on. I'm like, I
That
just
movie's
rewind that part.
But
really
like there's
bad.
there's choices that they make in these like car crash movies where the person gets hit, and like how much you see of it really kind of equates on a linear scale of how funny it is, and you see the whole thing. Like there's some where they try to mask some of these sometimes by like cutting around it, like oh they got hit and they're dead. Well this is like no, she bounces like it is straight up Looney Tunes.
Or they like try to make it more violent to make it like more scary. And this one, it's completely bloodless. She just goes soaring through the sky, just like whee.
Are the cars coated in like flubber? And that's like, I've never seen this movie. I don't. I'm just trying to imagine. Is she like ragdolling as
Oh,
she's
yeah.
just?
You know, in
Is it
Dark,
clearly a dummy? That's all I need to know.
it's like clearly a computer.
Oh.
If it was a dummy, it would have been better.
Yeah.
you know in Dark Souls when you like kill a creature and then you walk on them and then they keep going with you for half the game.
They,
Oh, yeah.
that's
That's kind of-
into you. Yeah, that's
yeah.
kind of what happened here. It's perfect.
Oh boy.
Any guesses?
I would say, given that I've talked about it before, I would say maybe my first guess would be Nick.
He just said he had never seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen
Okay.
it.
Well, I figured
That
like
might be a
Take it
Nick
back.
thing
Take
to
it
do.
back. We'll cut around it. Don't worry.
no. I mean the thought being is like even if you hadn't seen it, it'd be like oh, Wish Upon
I've
is a
never
horror
seen
film.
this movie. What?
Hey, it can happen.
Yeah.
Then I guess Brian.
No.
It was me.
Oh, really? Nice.
I was gonna give you something worse. I was gonna make you watch Truth or Dare, but I like you.
Wait,
So,
which Truth or Dare is it? The
Jeff Wadlow one where they're like with their mouths.
Oh, 'cause that's
where they have like the glass.
funny story. I thought that was the one that was on Netflix,
It's not.
and I found that out about 20 minutes. I was like, wait a minute, why aren't they doing that weird smiley thing?
Wait, there's another one on Netflix.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it as
2007.
is it as bad?
it's more boring.
It's
Well, I know what
worse.
I'm doing this evening.
Yeah.
But no, the reason I picked Wish Upon is solely for the saxophone scene where Barb from Stranger Things is like,
Oh yeah,
Joey King, your dad is so hot. And
Hot-
I'm
no.
just like, what?
hot sauce. She says he's hot sauce, like sriracha.
Yes. And it was
Did you
just,
say that? Did you say like sriracha?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have watched this movie like way more than anyone should because it's not good. Just because whenever it gets to that scene, I'm watching it with someone new and I'm like, this is my favorite part.
Well, and I feel
I
like
don't know why.
what she's basically a commentary
playing
of
saxophone, which is like the least sexy instrument.
she's basically the commentary of everyone who saw Cruel Intentions and saw him and like really like oh he's a looker.
I don't get Ryan Phillippe like as a hot man. Like I don't get why he's hot. And like I'm a connoisseur of this shit. I
Right.
should
I
know.
find him so smoking hot.
really like
My favorite role of his is Antitrust. And the only reason is because he had a nut allergy the same way as I did, and his significant other was using it to try and kill him. Maybe I was like, oh wow, that preys on my deepest psychological fears. Yeah,
I love how much joy this movie brought to the table right now. This is just
Wait,
giving
hold
me
on.
life.
Hold on. Wait, she's trying to seduce somebody with a saxophone?
No.
He's like just jamming with his bros in this new house they won from their Chinese culturally appropriated wish box. And he's like really into his saxophone playing. And the three, like this girl that has the wish box and her two friends, one of whom is Barb from Stranger Things, are sitting on the stairs watching this dad and his friends and their jam sesh.
When
She's
was this
like-
movie made?
Like last year.
Last year.
last year.
And she was like, girl, your dad can get it. And it was like, no.
Okay, to be fair, when I was in band, and I was totally smitten with a saxophone player that went to a different school, so I get it.
See, and this
He's
also,
a Barry
like,
sax player though, so
guys
I don't know.
guys with musical instruments is such a turnoff for me.
Oh, really? Even guitars?
Oh, especially guitars.
Whoa,
is there anything more
okay,
embarrassing
I
than a
can't
dude just coming to
trust
a
your
party
judgment
and
Playing
anymore.
Wonderwall? Yeah. No problem.
Ryan,
We went to the same college, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ryan
either that or
Phillippe,
wish you were
Ryan
here.
Phillippe
Like,
playing Wonderwall would be like, oh my god, give me.
I would just
Where did my
like,
clothes go?
I would vomit. Like my favorite thing about Will is his complete lack of like creative outlet. He's oh man. I love him so much.
It's like the nicest neg I've ever heard.
He's like good
Negging with love.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we would be a good pair to go out like
Yeah, we
scoping
could
for
be-
guys
yeah.
because like we never go after the same
You'd
guy. It'd
be
be
like, I
great.
want that guy on stage, and I'd be like, look at that roadie lifting heavy things.
So wish upon. What'd you think of Joey King?
I mean, she was serviceable for the role.
Ouch.
I mean,
I really like
I-
Joey
like,
King. Like I hadn't
I
seen
think-
this movie before this, and I like watching it. The only other movie I really know her from was Conjuring, and it's like I really like her. I kind of hope she does more. Like,
I think it's more of a no, like they didn't do anything with her. Like even though she's the main character, they're like just be you as a person. Don't act like, don't really do much.
See,
Like
I disagree. I think they made her a shitbag, and I like
Okay,
movies that
you're
do,
like-
and like they made her just like
You should
this-
watch Kissing Booth. It's not a good movie, but she's also a shitbag teenager in that.
Yeah, I like she does that well. Where you
Okay.
you can tell that she thinks she like her character thinks
Okay.
she's a good person, and she's just not. And I really like. I think she pulls that off really well. And I don't think it's an easy thing to do necessarily. And I think
Okay,
she does
yeah.
a really good job with it. That was my take on the movie. The whole time I'm like, all right, I love that she gets hit by 2 cars, and I like that she's a shitbag and doesn't know it. And I was like, all right, I can watch this movie.
that doesn't mean that is ultimately a good choice, making a character that you don't like.
Yeah, especially in a horror movie. It's like, all right, she'll die sooner or later. We'll get there.
And it does end with the main character, protagonist, dying, like losing, succumbing, giving in to the premise.
Yeah, getting hit by 2 cars.
Yeah.
Really my favorite thing.
Saxophone in 2 cars. Great movie.
Bam! Like, I just seriously just need to recut that movie with Porky Pig coming at the end. That's all, folks. Like, this would be perfect.
But Porky Pig
That's
with
an
like a
accident,
saxophone, right?
Yeah. If he came out with the saxophone.
It would still have his stutter.
That'd be
It'd be a
perfect.
better movie.
Still less offensive than the weird Asian cultural appropriation.
So that means Sam's next.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, see?
I'm so excited, though. I had never seen Dead Alive.
Okay.
And it's a Peter Jackson movie, and it's one of those things that I'd kind of always been meaning to watch and never... I'm not a big zombie movie person, but I should have known it's Peter Jackson, so of course it was glorious.
Not your average zombie film.
Not at all. It's so great. So, it's great. There's this girl named Paquita, and she is like kind of lonely, and she's like going after this like rugby playing dude that's like a delivery man, and her grandma's like, nah, let me read your tarot and tell you who you're supposed to be going after. And then she meets what's the main guy's name? I never remember. But she meets like this dude. He's like this charming New Zealander guy who lives with his mom, kind of a pushover, and she's like, yes, because the tarot cards told her to look for a sign. And so she just goes for it. It is great. Paquita is just like, I'm here for this. I'm going after this guy. She invites him on a date to the zoo. And then his mom is like creeping on him, and she gets bitten by a monkey that they kidnapped in a scene straight out of Kong, that Peter Jackson would later take for Kong. And she turns into
His
a
name is
zombie.
Lionel, by the way.
Lionel, that's it. So-
Lionel.
I didn't just look that up on my phone.
No, thank you for that. No, so Lionel's mom creeping on him, gets bit by a monkey, turns into a zombie, turns her nurse into a zombie. A bunch of thugs get turned into zombies when Lionel's visiting her grave, but only one of them stays a zombie. I don't know what happened to the others. But this priest shows up and he's like, I kick ass for the Lord. And he still gets turned into a zombie. So way to go, Lord. And it is such a treat because Lionel then ends up taking care of this zombie family while he figures out what to do. And his uncle, because he's such a pushover, comes and takes over his house, and it ends up being a whole party of zombies, which Lionel and Paquita have to fight their way out of. And it's so cool because they're like a team, and Paquita's badass, even though she's like trying to help Lionel and he's trying to help her. And at the end, he has to fight a giant monster that looks like the cave troll from Lord of the Rings, but with longer fingers. That's his mom, and has giant boobs, and it's hilarious. It is the best. It is like my new favorite horror movie outside of Final Destination. I love it. I love Paquita. I want to be Paquita. She is just a hero. I love that Peter Jackson, every movie he makes, he co-writes with Fran Walsh. You can always tell that there's a woman involved because the female characters, even if they're kind of damsel in distressy, always have like agency. Paquita in particular is just like, I want this. And I loved it. It just felt so earned at the end when they end up together. Yeah, it was great. Also, like, all the gore is so great. There's a zombie baby that goes into a blender. It gets ricocheted out of the blender. There's a zombie that gets turned into a lamp, which is great. Like, it's just, it's gross. All the effects are practical. Richard Taylor, who later founded Weta with Peter Jackson, did all the practical effects, and there's some wonky-ass camera work. It's my favorite things about New Zealand cinema that they let the seams show. Like, Taika Waititi even did that in Thor 3. Like, they let the seams show, and somehow it feels more magical because you can see that they had, like, no budget and still made this dope-ass movie. In the case of Thor 3, they had a substantial budget, but it clearly went to the cast. And to Taika's wardrobe. So, you know, whatever. It's great. New Zealand's great. This movie's great. I can't wait to go to the Wellington Zoo in December.
And
I don't
hopefully
know.
not get bit by a monkey.
I don't
Rat
even
monkey.
care. Like, those zombies looked like they were living their best unlife. You know, they were just like, they were fucking. They made a baby. Like,
They have brunch.
they have brunch. Like, zombies are living my weekends generally. Like, I'm half asleep, a little hungover, and I'm like, give me brunch. It's great. It's a perfect film. I'm gonna keep the track record of guessing Brian for the.
What does that say about my taste that everyone guessed? I can't talk today. Everyone guessed me. No, it wasn't me.
Oh shit. Nick, was it you? It was you.
Boom, bitch.
Boom. You just don't watch horror movies.
I know,
So I just,
but
because this is kind of a deep cut. I don't know.
Well, I was hesitant about giving you something gory, but you picked Child's Play for the last thing, so I thought you can handle something with a little bit. I don't mind. I hate gore when it's realistic. This gore is fucking absurd.
I love nasty, campy gore.
So yeah, I don't mind gore when it's crazy. That's why I like zombie movies. But what I love about this movie is the filmmaking. Like you said, the seam showing, but like you can see the skill of that dinner scene or that brunch scene. There are like, I don't remember how many people, like 8 people at that table. It's a table full of people.
And one of them's head is like
Yeah, and there's
off.
effects happening, and there's a whole long conversation, and there's all this stuff, and the coverage. There is coverage for days in that scene. I'm obsessed with it because it's like there's no way. It looks like they shot that scene for a week, and there's no way they had the budget to do that. So it's just like amazing filmmaking that he managed to get so much coverage of a dinner scene. It's
Dinner scenes,
crazy.
even without effects, are
Yeah.
so fucking hard to shoot.
And especially because this was shot in the 90s. That means it was all shot in film.
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't digital where they're like, just shoot, just keep
Yeah.
rolling, get it done. It's like, nope, they had to budget this out.
Yeah, there's a skill level. You don't usually see B-schlocky horror movies full of gore that are shot with this level of skill.
Well, it's
But
Peter
then you
Jackson.
see-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what
It's
you,
not
you can
just
tell
Peter
he's going to be
Jackson.
somebody.
You see, like, Richard Taylor is a
Yeah.
beautiful, crazy person. I love him. Like, he is my hero, and I love him so much. But just the skill level, the communication that they all have to have on these sets to
Yeah,
make it happen. And the fact that, like, Peter Jackson doesn't get enough credit for being able to direct actors. Like, everyone in this movie is bringing it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's kind of a function of most people today have only seen The Lord of the Rings or know him from now, unfortunately, The Hobbit. Like, where it's like, this is all you know of him. You don't see this past. Like, it's my wish that anyone who saw Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit would actually watch his whole back catalog.
Yeah, like,
'Cause you get
Heavenly
such a-
Creatures is brilliant.
Even the Frighteners. I love the
Frighteners
Frighteners.
is
Love
great.
the Frighteners.
Frighteners is really good.
Honestly, the only ones I'd say skip out of Peter Jackson's are the Hobbit movies and Lovely Bones. Otherwise, I think everything he's
Really?
made is
Even
decent.
the Muppets-ish movie? What is it
Meet
called?
the Feebles?
Meet the
Meet the
Feebles? I would
Feebles.
totally watch Meet the Feebles.
It's so
yeah.
nasty.
It's
I
gross.
love it.
Really, that movie is like the only movie that made me like physically uncomfortable. I don't know what it is about that movie either.
It's puppets.
I think it's just The Fly. The Fly really made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I would still watch Meet the Feebles, and I'd still watch, the hell was the other one? Bad Taste.
Oh yeah.
I think
that's the one I saw.
my favorite thing too about Dead Alive is, like, even though it's really nasty and it just goes there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that, like, it's such a there's so much joy in it. It's not like trying to be edgy. It's not like edgelord shit where it's trying to shock you. It's like, no, this would happen. Like, you know how in The Quiet Place I just couldn't get out of my head the farts?
Sure.
Like, I feel like in this movie they know how zombies poop. And I find so much joy. Like, they've thought about the mechanics of this world, and I love
They've had
that.
at least an hour of discussion about the zombie poop.
Well, because when the intestinal tract is like the full intestinal tract is popped out of that guy, and it's chasing it's like chasing Lionel through the house. It's like, yeah, I would wonder about that. Like, holy shit.
The fact that they made a baby too is just like
I know, and it's like, they made
still
Zack
works,
Snyder look like such a little bitch.
oh shit.
Why are you taking on Zack Snyder?
I will
And
like
somewhere Chewie perked up and was like, "Who said that?"
Zack Snyder and Ben
I'm here
Affleck
for.
are all, like, no.
But the thing that you haven't really brought up that for me was always the crowning achievement of this movie is he straps a lawnmower to his chest and
Right.
runs into a ballroom full of zombies.
The carnage at that point like had been pretty bad.
Yeah.
And that just sent it to a whole new level.
That it is just in the stratosphere of gore. Like no other movie, in my opinion, has ever matched this movie for gore. Just on that one
like
scene
body parts
alone.
are just like flying
And
through
just
the
the
air.
sound. The
covered
sound
in
is
it.
so
Oh, yeah.
gross. It's
Yeah.
that is beauty on screen. Like
Will said it best. He's like, it's like Peter Jackson watched Evil Dead and was like, I can do better. Just lawnmower.
And again, that's such you have to really plan that shit out because you can't do 2 takes of that.
No.
I mean, the place is going to be such a goddamn disaster. It would take hours to clean up.
Every costume was coded.
Yeah,
It was so
you have to know
nasty.
ahead of time exactly what you're probably shooting several cameras at once. Like you have to know exactly where you're going to go, choreograph it. Like it's just very, very smart filmmaking.
I think you could. The initial startup you couldn't do more than once, but once everything's covered, then
Oh
you can just go
yeah,
nuts.
but I mean the scene, like
Yeah,
the
the
actual,
startup,
like, the
for
wide.
sure.
I mean,
yeah.
you can.
Oh.
Oh, I was gonna say another thing that was kind of cool
Go
is
ahead.
there's gender parody in the kills, which rarely happens. They punch a lady through the back of her head and rip out her front. That never gets to happen to girls, and it does in this movie.
So
That'd be
You're up.
me. Okay, I had Drag Me to Hell, which is a Sam Raimi movie, and I did not know that. I would say my biggest complaint about this movie is the marketing was terrible because I thought this was like a super serious, like spooky, scary movie about people who are depressing, and like one of those movies where the whole point of it is that everything is terrible, and it kind of is, but it's fun. Instead of being like, and everything sucks, it's more like, aha, you suck. So
that'd be the best tagline for this movie. Drag me to hell. Ha ha, you suck.
Okay, so it's about this woman who is the most average person on the planet, which I loved. I was like, I can't believe you managed to make a movie about the most boring people I've ever seen in my life and make it engaging. But that's, Sam Raimi does that. So her name is Christine Brown, which is the most ordinary name. Sorry to all Christine Browns out there, but your name is kind of
We just lost a fan.
We probably lost like 6 fans. It's Christine Brown.
She's everywhere.
I think you're overestimating our numbers a little bit.
So she is a bank loan officer.
Oh, boring.
I know. And her boyfriend is Justin Long.
Boring.
And he is a psychology professor.
Oh, God.
And they're as white bread as possible. And-
Wonder Bread.
Okay, so this old, I'm assuming Romani lady, because gypsy is not a nice thing. She comes into the bank and she needs an extension on her mortgage, and she has no money, and they've already extended her mortgage 2 times. And the bank manager, she wants the assistant manager's position. That's her dream, to be the assistant manager of the bank.
At a local bank.
At a local bank. So she goes into the manager and she's just like, can we extend this lady's mortgage? And he's just like, you got to decide what to do. But remember, I'm like paying attention to whether or not you or this nice Asian dude over here, whose name I forget, but he's kind of awesome. I've seen him in a lot of stuff. He's on Prison Break.
It's a really good actor.
Yeah, he's really good. But he's a douche, and he's like, and there's so much like broing out, and there's sexism happening, and Christine's like, I'm never gonna get the job because I'm not a bro. And then he's just like, well, you got to make the hard decisions, and the message being like, if you don't give this lady her mortgage extension, then maybe you'll get the assistant manager's position. So she's like, oh, I guess I got to do the mean thing. So then she goes back to the lady and she's just like, I can't give you that extension. And the lady gets pissed, and then they drag her out because she's like making a scene, and then suddenly she appears in Christine's car. And there's this awesome in-car fight scene, and a lady has like her teeth come out. It's a whole thing. And then the lady curses her, like steals her button, and curses it and then gives it back to her. And this sets off the whole like series of events where like now she starts hallucinating. There's a demon that's coming to get her and drag her to hell, hence the title. And but it's shot all Raimi style. Like the fight scene in the car is all like zooms and crazy clothes and weird fucking noises and just like Raimi. And then
vomiting in people's mouths.
yeah, and then
So much vomit in people's mouth. Well,
not
really
in
just
this,
her mouth.
not in this, not really. I mean, not like all. It's not like a vomit movie, but
No, they throw up in Christine's mouth like 4 times in the movie.
they do.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah. Vomiting is always funny on film.
I just, I'm not bodily fluid fan. I don't know. So like anyway, so then like all these hallucinations start, and she gets up with that guy, the Indian guy from Inception, who's fucking hot, and
This was his first movie.
was it?
Yeah.
He's great, and
Yeah.
I would do him. Anyway, so
Hope he's a fan.
yeah. Call me.
Hey.
So I'm serious. So anyway, so they go see this like Latino lady who knows how to call up the demon, and then anyway, shit doesn't really work. And so the point is she has to find someone to give the button to, and she decides to give it to the corpse of the old lady. But in the car, I'm spoiling the whole movie. Sorry.
That's fun.
In the car, she drops the envelope with the button in it, and it mixes up with Justin Long's envelope because, of course, he's a coin collector. And there's a coin in his envelope, and she gives the coin. She doesn't open the envelope, which she just assumes the button's in there, which of course we as the audience are like, that's not gonna be the button. And there's a reason we saw an insert of the fucking envelope on the floor. So she goes and digs up the old lady and shoves the thing in her mouth, and it's raining and all this stuff happens. But then she's like, I did it! I rescued myself. And then she meets up with Justin Long and she's like, I'm safe! I did it! And he's like, oh, I found this button. And she's just like, no, that's the button! And then this portal, and then she falls on the train tracks and a portal opens up and she just goes, help me, and descends into hell. So it's like, haha, you boring person. I don't think she was a bad person. I think she was just the most average person on the planet. And it was just like, and he's also average. He was about to ask her to marry him, but when she gets dragged to hell, he just kind of stands there and he's like, oh.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's pretty great, and that's
Dodge
the movie.
that bullet.
It was amazing.
So, which one of us do you think?
Mathematically, it has to be you.
It was this time. This
I did
time-
the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been Nick.
It could not have
could've
been Nick.
there was a slight chance.
No,
it was-
mathematically, it couldn't have been
No,
Nick.
because he went first, so.
No, I know, I did the math.
Oh, okay.
It can't have been Nick.
Mathematically. Okay, I got it.
Because if it was Nick,
Hold on, let me run some numbers. They check out.
Which means I know who gave me my movie, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's true.
The reason I picked this one for you, and I was talking to Ryan for a while. I had 6 movies I was between. I'm like, I want a good, not necessarily feminist horror movie, but one that I know women enjoy.
Yeah.
I want a horror movie that I know plenty of women who have loved this movie. And I was between this one and 2 other ones, and one was a bit of a stretch, and it was just it came out at a time where it's trying to be a feminist horror film, but the way they tried to do that was by selling it to men to tell men a message. And it gets it's Slumber Party Massacre. That one gets weird, but it was made and written by women. I was like, that's what I'm going to go with, and I just changed my mind because I thought the messages just get a little too muddled. I'm like, yeah, it's got to be Drag Me to Hell. That is the answer.
it was a good choice. My only complaint is tonally, it was a little inconsistent. It was
Yeah.
sort of trying to be Raimi, but at the same time trying to be more mainstream. And there were times when it was when the weird Raiminess kind of didn't blend with the rest of the movie.
I think that has something to do with after Spider-Man 3, he just hasn't this is the best movie I think he's made.
Yeah.
Out of the 2 he's made since then, but it's I
You
feel
didn't love Oz the Great and Powerful?
I sure didn't. No, that one wasn't for me. But this one, I feel after he got beaten the shit out of in Spider-Man 3, he's just a little bit more timid when it comes to studio notes. So I have a feeling I want to make this comedy horror film, and the studio's you need to make a horror film. So he had to bend to their will a few times, and that's why the tone's a little inconsistent.
I also felt like the scares were kind of repetitive.
Yeah.
It was the same
Yeah.
scare over and over again for a
mean,
while.
it's
it got a
jump
little
scares,
boring
but-
in the middle, considering that your leads were boring. So
Yeah.
you got to make sure if you're going to do that, if you're going to have your main characters be super boring, you have to make sure that you have to do what he did essentially and make sure the circumstances around them are just wacky.
Yeah,
And,
and-
there were times when it got a little less wacky.
For me, the main reason why I own this movie on Blu-ray, I have a wall-sized poster of it in my apartment.
It's a great poster. I love that poster.
It's such a good poster. It's just rolled up in a corner right now because I don't have enough wall space. But the main reason I love it is all for the seance scene where they're trying to get rid of it. I think it is one of the best things Sam Raimi has ever put to film, and I love Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2.
When that goat starts like making a demon face, it's like, what the fuck?
And like, I worked at AMC in Chicago when this movie came out. That's how I got the poster. And I was the only one of the employees who wanted to see it. And everyone thought I was out of my mind. I'm like, no, you need to see it. Just talking goat. That's all I'm going to tell you. There's a talking goat in the movie. And if I haven't sold you on that alone, you won't enjoy it. And everyone in the theater eventually started to see it. And they're like, oh, Brian's right. The
Do you
movie's
think
incredible.
Drag Me to Hell was like responsible for the witch?
I'm
Is
going to go
this
with
the
yes.
reason we're all living deliciously right now, you guys?
I'm going to go with yes.
It's
I'll
a
give it
direct
credit.
inspiration, yes. Give me 5 minutes with Wikipedia.
Yeah, that goat is Black Phillip.
I love Black
I
Phillip.
haven't seen The Witch yet. I clearly need to because it comes up on this podcast all the time.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's rough, though. Like, it is not fun like Drag Me to Hell.
It is so fun. It ends the best.
All right, wait a minute.
Wait, it's not.
not-
Okay, hold on.
Doesn't. You
No.
guys are disagreeing with each
Wait.
other.
Yeah.
That was a pure like
It ends
angel
in-
demon on the
never
shoulder
mind.
Yeah,
thing.
it's not. It's not a fun movie.
It's not a fun movie, but it's fun.
It ends with my dream naked dance party.
That sounds fun.
Go ahead and watch it. Tell me how fun it is. It's a great movie, but I would not say like good time.
All right.
Laugh a minute.
Okay.
It's a real comedy, that one.
If
It's
you
like
go
how
and
I-
expect if you go and expect to laugh, you will be disappointed.
Oh no.
Sad. It's like how I feel
Unlike
about
Drag
The
Me to Hell.
Leftovers. I think The Leftovers is a really funny show.
It stars comedy actor Justin Theroux, does it
Yeah.
not?
Parks and Rec star. Season 2.
Oh, I know. That's
you're
my
not
favorite.
wrong.
I've referenced that episode. I've referenced his episodes many times on this show.
Perfect.
I'm a big fan of comedy actor Justin Theroux.
Me too. Also, to prove our point, co-writer of Zoolander and Tropic Thunder. So, comedy actor Justin Theroux.
I love
If
that's
you
how
like
we
Tropic
end.
Thunder, you're gonna love The Leftovers.
Yes. Of
I
course.
really enjoyed that's how we end talking.
I don't know.
Drag Me to Hell.
When did we invite Netflix algorithms?
I wish I were in charge of recommending
Me too.
stuff on Netflix.
I wish I could just.
It'd be great.
I wish I could just program a rep. I wish I could program a rep cinema because I would do so many things like that. Oh yeah, the first movie is Drag Me to Hell, and the other one is Zoolander 2.
I mean, it'd just be like our review system at the end of our normal episodes. If
Yeah.
you like this, you'd like this. Would I?
Well, I did, and I'm awesome.
If at the end you're not being like, why were those two together? Then I didn't do my job.
I mean, I guess I was entertained twice, but in totally different ways. Good enough. So that
And
leaves.
that's why your third movie's Gladiator.
Yes. Followed by Ernest Scared Stupid. This is a 4-movie set.
I'm ending this now because we got to get out of this. So my movie, given to me by Nick, I assume, unless somebody picked twice.
No, it was me.
Yeah, okay. Is the 1950s Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And for a long time in the 90s, after The Faculty came out, I was obsessed with all things Body Snatchers. And no offense to Nick, he picked my least favorite one.
Really?
Out of all of them to watch, it's this one, and I'll get to why.
Interesting. Okay.
But for in case somehow you've missed pop culture and you don't know what Invasion of the Body Snatchers is, I'll do a very quick summary. Basically, a small town anywhere USA. People have started going, my uncle isn't my uncle. Like, he looks like my uncle, he remembers everything like my uncle, but clearly not my uncle. And slowly but surely, they start noticing this around town with everybody. But then as soon as they really want to go talk to a psychiatrist or a cop or a doctor, they go, never mind, I'm fine. No, I was out of my mind. No, he's definitely my uncle. We're cool. Dead silence. Ooh, they've been overtaken too. And then as the movie goes on, they slowly but surely find out that just the doctor and the woman, or whoever the man and the woman is in whatever iteration of Invasion of the Body Snatchers you're watching, it's always a man and a woman, are the only two left not indoctrinated by these alien species, which in this one are big-ass plant spores, which in every remake the plant spores seem to get smaller and smaller and smaller, that's my favorite thing about this one. I like they're still just like obnoxiously large footballs. Like, they're just like, you can't fucking hide these things.
Pods. They're
Yeah.
pod people.
Sure, but like later on, they was like, let's make the pods a little smaller because otherwise it doesn't make sense that people aren't like, oh, I'm gonna go to bed. What's that big fucking plant in my room? I'm gonna toss that and then I'll go to bed. Even like at one point they hide them in the trunk of their car and it takes up the entire trunk. Like there's only 2 of them. That trunk is stuffed with these pods, but whatever. After a while they find out the only 2 left, and they do something in this movie they don't do in the other ones, which I really do enjoy in this one again, where it's they're trying to hide from all the pod people and they're waiting for their friend to show up to try to get them out of town, and somebody knocks on the door, like, oh, thank God he's finally here. The whole town's been overtaken, and he's like, yeah, everyone but you 2. So we're gonna do that now, and it's really kind of great. Like this could be really scary and suspenseful, but like no, we're done with the bullshit show of this thing. Will you guys just get in your pods so we can move on? And it's kind of this cool matter of fact conversation. But in the end of the day, apparently there's 2 versions of this, which I did not know. I don't know how I missed that in all of my obsession with Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
You haven't seen the most recent one?
No, of the 1950s.
Oh, wait. Sorry, what do you mean 2 versions?
Apparently there was 2 endings, is what Chewie was telling me. And then I never saw the bleak ending. I've always seen the ending where it's like he shows up out of town and he's telling everybody about this whole thing, because the whole movie's told in a flashback of him recanting what happened to him.
Recounting?
I'm not talking well today.
Okay.
I'm giving up on it. You just have to understand what I'm saying. Now I forgot what word I was going to say. Fuck.
He was recounting the events.
Thank you. Recounting the events of what happened to him. And then at the end of it, basically everyone's like, you're a fucking liar. And then someone shows up, hey, we just pulled over a truck with a whole bunch of football-sized plants. Oh, he's not a liar. Call the FBI. We're going to save the day. And that's how it ends. And apparently there's a much bleaker ending where it's like, oh, no, we're all just going to die. Which is how every other remake, except for The Faculty, has gone.
Yeah.
And that's the ending I like. And I think that's why I never liked this one as much. That was my major sticking point to it, is I never saw the bleak ending. I've
Really?
only ever seen...
The bleak ending's famous.
I've only ever seen... Whenever I watch the 1950s, I've only seen...
Don't take it out on the mic, Brian.
This is the only version I've ever seen. Like, so that's the...
Interesting.
That's why I've never really enjoyed it very much.
Do you know
even on this rewatch, I just rented the version off Amazon, and it's
Oh.
that same ending.
Weird.
Yeah.
I've only seen the bleak ending. I didn't know that there were 2 versions.
Neither did I. Like I still haven't even done any research into it in case I'm wrong for some reason. But like, the ending of the movie is like, call the FBI, and he's like crying with relief, like, oh, I did it. It's like,
So do you know what the bleak ending is by any chance?
No.
Okay. So the reason why I chose this
unless
movie,
it's like the 70s one with the Donald Sutherland, then I know the bleak ending.
what's the bleak ending for this side of their...
They win.
Oh,
The aliens win.
No. The ending for the 50s one is... So the reason why I chose this is because it's like... this movie was made in like the middle of McCarthyism.
Right.
So the rules that Hollywood had to abide by, and they were like rounding up all these people that were perceived as communists in Los Angeles, blah, blah, blah. And it was written by somebody who had a bunch of friends who were basically ostracized from Hollywood. And so the ending of the movie is the main character's running down the highway and trying to stop all these cars and he's saying, they're here, they're here, they're here. So the reason why he wrote that is because he wanted it to be ambiguous, but it could be perceived as anti-McCarthyism, which is they're here, the McCarthyists who are taking over Hollywood and pretending to be people who are not actually anybody. You know, like they're embodying people who are like, well, now I'm anti-communist because that's what's going to keep my career going. So I'm going to turn you in, or I'm going to turn you into basically a McCarthy supporter. Or it can be perceived as pro-communist, or sorry, pro-McCarthyism, which is the communists are here and they're the ones who are invading the bodies and they're the ones who are trying to convert people to communism. So it can be perceived as both.
Given that scene's still in the movie that I watched, it just continues after that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So that's where the ending is.
Oh, okay.
And it
yeah.
doesn't continue after that,
Okay,
from
yeah.
what I understand.
Okay, yeah, because the version I saw, that scene's there, and then it just picks up, and then like, oh, call the FBI, we're all gonna be fine.
When
Oh,
he's
wow.
in the police station recounting at the beginning, that
Yeah.
was also tacked on.
Oh,
I
okay.
was just not
Oh,
that
okay.
I just looked
That
that,
makes
up.
sense.
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah, that makes
yes,
sense.
You saw some bookend magic.
That makes more sense because and that's all I've ever seen, which is again why I don't like it.
That's fair.
Because that ending doesn't work. Like
No.
it doesn't fit the tone of the movie. So maybe if I were to see that one, I'd like it more. But there are things that I enjoyed. But I definitely think that it was because I knew all of that going into it. Like I knew all the communism thing, but I've never taken it as it could potentially be like pro-communist because there's a few lines throughout the movie that are very anti-communism. Like there's a part where talking about what is it like to be a pod person, and they're talking like, oh yeah, we don't have to worry about sex or love or emotion or anything. It's great. And he's like, so everyone's the same. That's no way to live. Look into the camera. Like it's just like, okay, we get it. But I mean, that's kind of how the message movies were of the day. Like you didn't have to be as subtle then. Like it's like you can go as on the nose as you want. You do that now, and like, movie's too preachy. I don't want to watch it.
But couldn't you also then say, like, instead of anti-communist, they could be anti-McCarthyism because it's the push of like hardcore Christianity as the
I guess
mainstream?
it could be. I guess it could be. Yeah, sure. There's that argument there. But I think that's the best thing about this movie is that the conversations you have after the movie, not the movie itself.
I agree.
Which is why, like, I've always, whenever I want to watch it now, like, I always go for the Daniel Craig version. I'm kidding.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The movie sucked.
It's my favorite.
Well, I can't help
That's a
it.
Thoreau level joke, man.
Exactly.
Good
Daniel
callback.
Daniel Craig, Nicole Kidman, man, that's what I want.
Oh no.
No, I always go to the Donald Sutherland one, just because
Yeah.
that one has the iconic body snatchers scene of they're walking away and he does the point and scream, which they've mocked in like fucking every movie from there on out. And like I hadn't seen this one in so long. I was like, is it in here? Like, does it happen at some point? And like the scene is still there. They just don't have the point and scream. Like they just have them walk by and the guy go, "Oh, they're one of us." Wait, why'd she freak out about a dog dying? Who cares about? Oh, she's not one of us. And it's like, okay, it still works, and you still have like the suspense of try to fake it while in the mob, and like I still like that. Like it's definitely still a good movie, and especially for its time, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Compared to other movies from the same era, it's like the filmmaking is great, the cinematography is great, the acting is great. Like it's that perfect level of like melodrama that I just love. But just because it is a movie that is so heavily remade, like it's like Robin Hood level remake. Like
Exactly.
every other year we're gonna get another something like this. That it's tough to go to the first one and go, not my favorite. I like the one that came after it, but they're those, and then the one from like the 90s, like that one was terrible but really good in its own terrible way. It's like from 92 or 94 or something like that. But
Interesting.
the first two were just such good movies, but it's tough for me to compare anything to the Sutherland one, because that one's just one of my favorite movies of all time. I am glad I rewatched it, because even when I got it, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to rewatch that boring slog again. Like I just didn't enjoy it. And then on this rewatch, I liked it way more than how I remembered it. So at least there's that. So I won't only go back to the Sutherland now when I want to rewatch them, but I have to find the other ending, because this one, it just does not work.
Well, you just cut off the beginning and the end.
Yeah, I fast forward a little bit and then I stop right at the ending, and then it works.
Exactly.
Perfect. That's it though. That's everything. We've talked about them all, right?
Yeah.
We did it. That brings an end to our Halloween month, which is always sad. But that means that we get to talk about all the movies that I was going to talk about in October, starting next week with a movie. Mm-hmm. How movies, like if I was disappointed by the 1950s invasion of the Body Snatchers, imagine how I'll be next week when we talk about Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
Someone should have dragged that
You were
movie to hell.
disappointed, like you didn't expect that to be bad.
I didn't expect it to be what it was. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
I had expectations that it did not meet.
I had no
And
expectations, and it somehow even dropped below that.
Yeah, like my expectations were low, but there were certain things that I wanted. It didn't do.
This
any
is
of
really
them.
good at building expectations for
Yeah,
next week's
that's
episode.
what I'm going for. Before we get out of this thing, I think we should do a round of plugs. Pluggity plugs. I will go first, of course. Listen to Venture Brothers podcast, every Monday with Nick. Nick's on that as well. This past Monday we had Fallen Archers, which is a very good episode. And then in 3 days we have, what's the name of the next one? Do you remember?
Hold on a second. No.
Nope. Can't remember for the life of me.
Hold on.
So you guys are fans of Venture Brothers, right?
It's
The names of the episodes are always
Guess
kinda
Who's
weird.
Coming to State Dinner.
Guess, yeah.
Yeah, I knew State Dinner. I just couldn't remember the whole title, which is not a great episode of our show. Not a great episode of Venture Brothers.
Yes.
But
Oh,
we
good.
did-
We're getting to one of those.
Yeah, we did a very good job.
Is
Deep
the
diving.
show just you guys going, this show's great?
That's
Yeah.
a lot of it.
No,
it
the-
is a great show though.
The
so,
SEO has
it
been
makes
very
sense.
easy for
Yeah.
Venture Bros because
Yeah.
every episode's been the best.
Yeah, well, and then we get to State Dinner.
Cool. I'm
Even
excited.
even Jackson Public's like, this episode blows.
I'm excited to type out the SEO on that.
But that's it. So every Monday, be sure to check out Venture Brothers podcast. Sam, you have something you like to plug?
I do. Every Tuesday, I have the Samwise podcast. It's an advice podcast where I answer every question using the Lord of the Rings films,
And it
including their
is
special features.
Delightful
thank
and very
you.
informative. Sam and her books are wise.
Not a book. I only use the movies.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Sam and her movies are wise.
I don't touch that fucker, Tom Bombadil. Fuck him.
I like Tom Bombadil.
That's fine.
He has fun songs. He does.
No, but if you have a question,
Do you have any advice about that?
yeah, there's a reason they cut him.
I want to call in with a question now. I have a good one.
About
If
the
you
books.
do want to call in with a question, it's 608-561-2755 or sam.wise.ath@gmail.com. Also, every Wednesday and Friday at athpod.com, you can find articles written by some of these fine folks around the table, as well as special guests. So you can catch Samwise. You can subscribe to it wherever you listen to podcasts. It's now in its own feed.
And then what else was there that you were just talking about that made me think we had to plug something else?
Oh, also, Grinch is coming out November 9th, so you should see it and look for all the awesome billboards because I helped with those.
That was not what I was
Well,
thinking.
I
but
don't
at least we got
care.
that one
I'm
into-
really proud of them.
I wanted to plug the two guest writers that we had recently.
yeah.
We had Amanda,
Amanda Lawson, who wrote about Wasteland, and Matt Dykes, who wrote about Die Hard.
and its 30th anniversary, which were both very good, fun articles about things. Well, I know a lot about Die Hard, but I know nothing about Wasteland.
And we
I
learned a lot.
I learned a shitload about Die Hard that I didn't know. So, including a very good quote that I won't ruin, but it fucking killed me when they're talking about how they used to use Die Hard to sell other movies. It's so good. Anybody else anything to plug?
You can, now that Halloween's over, I'm available for commissions on costumes or outfits or whatever. Unfortunately, Her Universe they put out a coat. It's not accurate, but it's much cheaper than the one that I make, even though mine is more screen accurate. So I've been, my sales have been kind of dropping because of that, which is natural. So I'm sort of branching out. If anybody wants me to make you a Disney bound, or I'm thinking about making like a 13th Doctor, some 13th Doctor gear. So some stuff that is handmade by me. If you want a particular kind of thing, let me know. You can also check out my Etsy shop. I've got some stuff that should be popping up pretty soon. Emily Blake Sews is my Etsy shop, so go there and you can buy cool stuff that no one else will have.
Awesome. John, anything to plug?
Nope, not yet.
Nick?
Not really.
You're not plugging Assassin's Creed anymore?
I worked on Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so go buy that. That's it.
You should really work for their marketing.
Honestly,
You can
I
buy
do-
this game or
I do a
whatever, I
great job.
guess.
All right, that's it for this episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and bye.